Hello, everyone. This is Dr. David again, and welcome to tonight's presentation. As I mentioned earlier, we are really excited to work with Jim Spencer because he has such a wealth of information, such a wealth and such a great technology he's going to be talking about. And he's going to be introducing that technology to you. And I believe that technology, from what I understand, that technology is changing people's lives all over the world. I'm going to start with a quote. As knowledge with regard to the effects of food upon man increases, it is more than conceivable that the races or the people that first avail themselves of the new values of nutrition may decrease the handicaps of disease, lengthen their lives, and so become the leaders of the future. By Victor V. Heiser. And I tell you, there isn't a more apt way to describe what we'll be looking at tonight. Before I hand over to Jim, I'm going to read out his bio. James Spencer is considered by many to be an expert in the field of natural sciences. He has developed expertise in the field of glutathione enhancement therapy by working as a pharmaceutical representative for a company that has pioneered this research. For the past 12 years, Mr. Spencer has worked closely with Immunotech, Inc. of Montreal, Canada, to educate and promote the benefits of glutathione augmentation. He has collaborated with numerous doctors across North America and has helped set up some of the ongoing trials associated with this technology. Mr. Spencer is often heard on radio and television and regularly speaks to large audiences throughout the United States and Canada on the subjects of health and anti-aging. Mr. Spencer, it's really an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and it really has been an eye-opener just working with you over the last couple of weeks. So thank you again, and over to you.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it, and it's nice to be on with all of your guests tonight. And as they probably know, there'll be occasion to ask questions at the end of the program. First of all, much of what you're going to hear me talk about has been my privilege to learn through a company called Immunotech, Inc., which is one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the field of immunology. And so what you're going to hear tonight is quite a lesson in human immune function and what the capability is of boosting that immune system and having it help ameliorate some of the health challenges. Particularly tonight, we're going to focus on what it can do for diabetes. The subject that we're embracing tonight, glutathione, many times elicits the comment, well, what is that? Well, it's quite simply an extraordinary molecule that is found in every cell of your body. And while there's been currently over 90,000 published scientific papers on it, the average person has never heard of it. In fact, many of you listening in tonight probably never heard it throughout the whole time you went to school. This is a picture of glutathione, and it takes on a tricolor because it is a tripeptide protein molecule, and it exists in every cell of your body. And interestingly, it's your most powerful protector of the human cell. Now, glutathione needs three components to be able to function. And when these three components are introduced to the cell and are absorbed through the membrane or the wall of the cell is able to upregulate or manufacture glutathione. Now, these three amino acids are glycine, glutamate, and cysteine. Now, interestingly, the glycine and the glutamate are abundant in food groups. You could go down and buy a Big Mac at McDonald's and get all the glycine and glutamate you need for the day. But the cysteine has proven to be not only the hardest to get, but it's also the rate-limiting factor. So in actuality, it decides whether or not you are making glutathione. So this one very rare protein molecule, amino acid, is really the deciding factor. Now, glutathione has dozens of roles, and tonight we're not able, because of time restraints, to go into many of them, but I'm going to, for the sake of education tonight, talk about the top 5 benefits. And these can be remembered by means of an acronym that I use, which is AN-IDEA. The AN stands for antioxidant, the I stands for immune support, the D, detoxification, the E, energy, the A, anti-aging. Now we're going to briefly touch on each of these components so that you can get an overview. The first one is antioxidant, and probably the most spectacular aspect of glutathione. Now many people don't realize that you have an antioxidant as well as an oxidant mechanism in your body. Now the difference between the two mechanisms would be called your oxidative stress level. Now even that is a buzzword that the average person is not familiar with. Scientists now are nicknaming oxidative stress OS. So on occasion you'll actually hear or read about OS. And if you were to type oxidative stress into Google, you'd be amazed to find that there's more than 20 million websites that are discussing oxidative stress. And as a matter of fact, that's as much as Google can search, 20 million. So as to how many there really are, we don't even know. But that gives you a little idea about what a hot topic oxidative stress is. Now, basically, if you have a high oxidative stress level, you are going to have high inflammation in your body. And the inflammation goes up as the oxidation stress level goes up. You age at a faster rate. You die sooner. Now, the opposite holds true if you're able to lower the oxidative stress level. Your inflammation goes down. You age at a slower rate. You live longer. I'm sure you all are happy with this latter possibility than the first possibility. Well, that's why it's important for antioxidants to be in our body. And probably almost all of you take antioxidants on a regular basis, such as vitamin C and vitamin E and B1, B2, B6, B12, zinc, and so forth. Now, these vitamins have a basic mechanism. As they break down to the molecular level in your body, they release hydrogen and pass it over to oxyradicals. Now, the most common and the most dangerous of the oxyradicals, it's simply called an OH molecule. Now, what happens when you pass an H over to an OH? Well, now you get an H2O, water. So basically, in many cases, these antioxidants are helping to liquefy some of these dangerous unpaired electrons in our body, and liquefying them, and the body can then get rid of it by urinating it out or sweating it out. However, a lot of people don't realize that once the vitamin C and the vitamin E and these other vitamins pass off their hydrogen, now they are not healthy for the body, so the body has to get rid of the vitamin. Now, this process can take place very rapidly. In fact, many of you have probably noticed that when you take a multivitamin in the morning, about 20 minutes later you go to the bathroom and you have yellow urine. Well, what happens is the body's already extracting the hydrogen, and now it's getting rid of particularly vitamin B2, because that's the one that you can see. It has the yellow in it. The other ones are for the most part, colorless. Now, 2 hours later, you go back to the bathroom, your urine is clear again, and you wonder where the yellow went. Well, it's gone down the toilet. You've lost these vitamins. Now, glutathione, if you're able to have good levels of glutathione and you're taking the proper precursors that helps manufacture glutathione, you'll actually be recharging and recycling these vitamins all day long. And so you'll be surprised to see yellow urine all day long. Now, for that reason, this has been identified, and by the way, the chemical name for glutathione is GSH. It's because it's the sulfhydryl group. But this is an endogenous antioxidant. All the other vitamins, or antioxidants, I should say, like vitamin C and vitamin E and so forth, are exogenous. You have to eat them. You can't eat glutathione. You have to make glutathione. So it's an endogenous antioxidant. All the rest are exogenous. And so really, it's the master antioxidant. Now let's get into the first letter of IDEA, and it stands for immune system. Dr. Gustavo Bunos was the first scientist to actually discover how to make the human body elevate glutathione, or how to help the human body to make more glutathione. And he was awarded numerous patents for his discovery. But interestingly, over a period of 20 years, he became really the individual that helped open the research to glutathione. 20 years ago, there was a handful of studies on glutathione. Now there's so many thousands. Well, this man was instrumental in that. But along the way, he began to find out its tremendous impact on the immune system. In fact, he's quoted as saying, without glutathione, our immune system can't function. As glutathione levels drop, our ability to fight off disease also declines. Now, the average person has never heard this. And don't you think it would have been nice for somebody to let you know that your immune system depends on glutathione? I would guess so. Now, one of the big things that, and we didn't know this years ago, but the white blood cells, which of course are macrophages, and they're converted to T cells, or killer T cells, they're used to eat different types of antigens and pathogens. And so they will design a killer cell that can eat different types of bacteria and viruses and funguses and even tiny parasites. But your immune system has the ability to do this by availability of glutathione. Now, this is something that we didn't realize. When a white blood cell becomes a killer T cell, it actually produces a memory for life in your body for that particular type of antigen or pathogen. So if you're ever exposed to it again, your body doesn't go through any disruption. It immediately sends killer cells to kill that bacteria. Now, suppose you have massive infection. Let's say you cut yourself and you get all kinds of bacteria in that cut. Well, after the initial T cell is created, it begins to clone itself. And so it divides and continues to divide, and it duplicates. It's called monoclonal expansion. And it can actually make millions of these killer cells, so it can overwhelm the infection and keep you safe and well. Now, without the availability of glutathione, you can't do this. Now, maybe some of you on the lines tonight can think of a disease in which your body can't make T cells. Maybe possibly you're thinking of HIV. Yes, HIV is a disease that prevents you from making T cells. And it's been learned that people that have HIV virus and subsequently AIDS have the lowest amounts of glutathione. That's why they're not able to make the T cells. So the doctors in many parts of the world that have been doing this research realize that the cystine deficiency and subsequently glutathione deficiency is at the root of most wasting states. Cachexia, the limiting factor of clonal expansion of lymphocytes is needed. You need glutathione. Food for the immune system, that was a quote by Dr. Gutman. So very important to have this for immune function and powerful immune function. Now, detoxification is of course getting more critical today. And which organ is it that detoxifies? Well, it's the liver. And so if you have any problems with your liver, you're going to get toxic quite rapidly. And interestingly, on a recent chart that was loaded up on the FDA website, they listed the top 10 things that cause liver destruction in the United States. The number one thing on the list was Tylenol. It's the number one thing that destroys liver. And in Europe, surprising to some, Tylenol is also one of the top forms of committing suicide. A glass of scotch and 10 extra strength Tylenols, you're going to be dead in about 96 hours. And it's a very horrible death. Your liver completely falls apart. Now, if you change your mind, you get into a hospital emergency room and you tell a doctor, well, I took this crazy amount of Tylenol. The doctor can inject you with a synthetic form of cystine. It's called N-acetylcysteine. And the body knows to bring it to the liver. It'll use the cystine to upregulate the glutathione. The glutathione will detoxify the Tylenol, and it'll save your life. Now, many doctors know to give the injection of N-acetylcysteine, but many of them don't know that it's actually the glutathione that's actually saving the person's life. So now you know the mechanism behind it. So just looking at a partial list of what's detoxified by glutathione, it's astonishing. Now, ladies that are looking on probably recognize this solvent, acetone. What do you use that for? Yes, cleaning off fingernail polish. But it also tends to go right through the skin, goes to your liver. You've got aflatoxins, hydrocarbons, nitrosamines. These come from smoked foods and salamis and hot dogs. Benzopyrenes that come from barbecued foods, fuel exhaust, cigarettes. Heavy metals, which are getting more prevalent today. In fact, mercury now has had a huge increase. They're now actually warning people in some of the northern states to not eat fish from the lakes. They're even putting it right on the fishing license. I saw one in Maine. No children under the age of 9, no women pregnant or who could get pregnant should eat any fish from any lake in the state of Maine. You remember they used to tell us, eat fish. Fish is good. Well, you've got to be careful now about fish. But if you were to go to Google and type in mercury and detoxify, guess what words are going to pop up? What studies? Glutathione. Because really it's the only thing that can detoxify mercury and get it out of your body. And mercury very possibly is playing a role in the huge increase in autism. We've actually seen it increase tenfold. 10 years ago, 1 in 1,000 children were autistic. Now it's somewhere around 1 in 100. And I have seen amazing results with children who are autistic, and they begin to raise glutathione levels. Astonishing. The children are become functional in ways that they never were before. But it's very important then that the liver have a good supply of glutathione, and up to 62% of all the glutathione in your entire body is found in your liver. By the way, the number 2 spot happens to be your eyes. And so as you age and you start to lose glutathione levels, the eyes pay a big price. That's why we tend to get cataracts and glaucoma and macular degeneration. Strong research indicates if you can keep high levels of glutathione, you won't even have these complications in your eyes. By the way, in the case of women, just a side note, a pregnant woman has the second highest levels of glutathione in her placenta. And that's probably why the detoxification is so strong and why babies, in spite of all the secondhand cigarette smoke and other things that women are exposed to today, the babies, by and large, are born normal. So glutathione is the toxic waste neutralizer of the body. Now, the next letter of idea is energy, and another thing we've learned in recent times is that glutathione is a part of the energy complex. And this is something that really, if you have friends that are into sports performance and high-level exercise, you'll probably want to pass this on to them, because glutathione is critical for them. They burn up glutathione because of the oxidative stress they put on their body and their muscles. Now, inside the cell, and by the way, this is showing really some of the components of the cell. Glutathione is actually the gateway to the cell. It allows things in and allows things out. And it can actually stop things from coming in, like carcinogens and heavy metals and toxins. But inside the cell, it's also used to protect the cell from damage caused by oxyradicals. Yes, you make oxyradicals inside your cell. Whenever you eat and breathe, the cells are starting to make energy. That's the byproduct. Now, if you have sufficient glutathione, it'll pass the hydrogen over to the oxyradicals. It'll neutralize them. If you don't, some of these oxyradicals will steal hydrogen from other parts of the cell, most notably the mitochondria. And so we've been noticing in the last few years, now that pollution is high, free radical damage is high, radiation is high, toxins in the water, toxins in the foods, that the mitochondria has been impacted dramatically, and we now have mitochondrial disorder. They've even made up new names for these kinds of diseases, like, for instance, chronic fatigue syndrome, very much related to the mitochondria. Chronic fatigue syndrome. All of these are benefited by simply raising glutathione, and it's astonishing how rapidly it benefits it. Let's get to the last one, my personal favorite. So how many of you would like to live a little longer? Well, it's unfortunate, but glutathione begins to drop starting at the age of about 21. It dramatically drops in your 40s and 50s, and it continues until your death. And that's basically what happens in our life. We oxidize. And as the glutathione begins to drop in our body, the oxidation levels go up. Now, there's been an exception to this. We've found that the oldest people that live over the age of 95, seem to have uniquely high levels of glutathione. It's very likely that they sustained it throughout their life, and in some cases, our research is indicating that they've done it by accident. But in general, and here this was a study done by Fletcher and Fletcher, published in The Lancet, they found that elderly inpatients in hospitals have the lowest levels of glutathione. Outpatients have twice as much, and healthy elderly who can drive, and cook, and take care of themselves, they have the highest levels of glutathione. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are able to raise your glutathione levels deliberately, you could bring the levels back to that of a young person in sometimes as little as 1 month. So it's very important to learn how to do this. The benefits are huge. It increases your energy levels. Your body is cleansed of toxins and carcinogens and other heavy metals at the cellular level. Your immune system is dramatically strengthened, and your physical performance improves, and you're protected from the environmental pollution, which is so bad right now. But very, very important, it slows down the aging process. The cells live longer. The cells split more. So glutathione, and you do the research on glutathione, you're going to find tremendous anti-aging benefits. Now that you've got a good background on glutathione, let's now analyze what would be the specific benefits for diabetes. Now, it's unfortunate, but diabetes is now becoming epidemic. They're currently estimated to be about 25.8 million diabetics in the United States, or about 8.3% of the population. And a good number of them don't even know it. There's an estimated 79 million American adults ages 20 years of age or older with prediabetes. So we've got a huge catastrophe looming. The Wall Street Journal published in the year 2000 a study that shows the children that are born since the year 2000, about 1 out of 3 of them will be diabetics. So this is something that really, for the most part, could be prevented. Statistics are not good. Diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure in the United States, the leading cause of non-traumatic lower limb amputations. It's the leading cause of new cases of blindness among adults in the United States, not to mention cataracts and glaucoma. Diabetes is a major cause of heart disease and stroke, which is the number 2 and number 3 killer in the United States. Out of the top 10 causes of death, period, in the United States, diabetes is number 7. So it's very serious to approach the disease diabetes with an education and to try to do the best that you can. Now, diabetes and diabetics, by definition, are considered to be immune compromised. And so raising glutathione levels is going to have a big impact on the immune system. Diabetics tend to catch everything that comes along, and their circulation is not very good, which causes them to develop sores, which don't heal very well, which of course can lead to amputation. Now the studies, I'm just going to show you a few tonight, but Sundaram released a study way back in 1996, and it suggests that glutathione deficiency actually precedes the subsequent complications of diabetes. So there's a strong hint here that if you can raise glutathione, you can actually subdue the complications of diabetes. Yoshida published a study in 1995 about the weakened cellular scavenging activity against oxidative stress and diabetes mellitus. This study showed that low glutathione levels lead to increased cellular damage, and so the damage is accelerated. In fact, they estimate that it's about 500% higher in diabetics. Thornalley published a study that revealed a correspondence between low levels of glutathione and higher diabetic complications. Jane published a study that suggests that low glutathione levels characteristic of diabetes actually play a role in impaired insulin secretion in uncontrolled diabetic patients. So if you take that to the next level, it's likely that it can actually help insulin secretion if you can raise these glutathione levels. Now, why would it be so important in the fight against diabetes? Well, number one, glutathione can prevent circulatory problems such as arteriosclerosis and stroke. That's the main cause of diabetic death. I believe the figure is 68% of all diabetics who die, there's some type of heart disease implicated. Glutathione enhances the immune system, which is very valuable in reducing infections. And by the way, the more infections you have in your life, the more dramatic you're going to affect redox status, which redox status is basically going to decide how long your cells live. So the more illness that you experience in life, it's going to shorten your lifespan. So it's very strong, very powerful to see this as a means of preventing this. Glutathione lowers oxidative stress at the cellular level. It helps prevent atherosclerosis and kidney damage and retinopathy and neuropathy. Many times diabetics get tingly feelings in their extremities and numbness. That's what neuropathy is. And, of course, nerve damage. Now, the important thing for you to take away tonight is the fact that glutathione can't be raised by eating glutathione. Sad to say, you can go to a health food store and you can still buy glutathione. Don't waste your money. Glutathione is not able to be eaten. in one study after another, we've seen that there's no sign of increasing glutathione if you eat glutathione. So glutathione is increased only by making it within your cells. Now, I should mention that glutathione can be injected, and there are some short-term benefits. It's got what's called a short half-life, and for a couple of hours, it's got some good benefits. But the injectable form of glutathione is a large molecule. It's not able to get into the cell and help increase intracellular glutathione. So all you're increasing is extracellular glutathione. And it's very hard for injected glutathione to go past the blood-brain barrier. So what you need are the precursors, the building blocks that let your body make glutathione. Okay, now, important to learn is that not all precursors are created equal. For instance, there are some drugs and some synthetic forms of cystine, such as NAC, SAM, or otherwise known as SAMe. There's OTC, OTZ, and GSH. Now, I'm going to just cover these briefly. N-acetylcysteine is probably the most common. You can buy it at a health food store. It has about a 9% absorption rate through the stomach. Now, what does that mean? It means that you have to take quite a bit of it. It also has a short half-life, so it's only in the bloodstream a couple of hours. And at high doses, it can be toxic. So really, I would not recommend this for long-term use. If you had overdosed some drug and you needed to get emergency treatment, I would particularly recommend it, but otherwise, you'd have to swallow it or inject it multiple times a day. The side effects, and in rare instances, death has resulted because of anaphylactic response. So again, can be used, but not recommended for long-term use. SAMe is a form of methionine that partially converts to cysteine, and of course then the cysteine is used to make the glutathione. And it's been used for treating cirrhosis and cholestasis. It's expensive to synthesize. The side effects may include dry mouth, agitation, gastrointestinal problems. And again, it can be used, but it has some drawbacks. OTC and OTZ are synthetic delivery sources, and the required enzyme is not present at all times in all people. So the value of OTC and OTZ is limited. It's been used. This has been used quite a bit with HIV treatment, and this is not really readily available to doctors or the general public. The GSH monoesters and diesters are synthetic compounds which can be, unfortunately, also metabolized into alcohol. So while you're making some glutathione, you're also making alcohol, which can potentially deplete your glutathione. So the long-term safety of this one is kind of debatable. Now, there's some natural products. I already discussed oral glutathione. You can take L-cysteine, buy it in a health food store, methionine, melatonin, glutamine, lipoic acid, silymarin. You can take whey protein, or in some case the bioactive whey protein, which is probably the most beneficial one. Let's just talk about oral glutathione. It's basically destroyed in your stomach and passed as waste. Don't waste your money. L-cysteine raises glutathione minimally. The real problem is it also gets destroyed and easily oxidized in your stomach. So you have to take a lot of it, and you could become toxic and develop hypercystinemia by taking too much of it. So it's potentially toxic. And it also has a drawback of further oxidizing in the bloodstream and causing potential toxic byproducts. Methionine can be used, but at certain doses it can be toxic. It's also a precursor to homocysteine. Now, I should mention homocysteine is the antithesis of cysteine, and it can also be a high risk for atherosclerosis. So this is kind of a two-edged sword. Melatonin This one has some benefits. It's a natural hormone and an antioxidant. It's especially useful in raising glutathione in the brain. Now, there's a few available products, such as concentrated Montmorency cherry juice. It's a little bit expensive, but a very good product. It can raise melatonin naturally in the brain, and subsequently, if you were really needing to raise glutathione in the brain, I would suggest glutathione precursors and also that Montmorency cherry concentrate, because it's much more safer than just taking the melatonin itself. This is a natural way to raise it. Glutamine has some additional benefits, but it's only one of the 3 amino acids, and generally a healthy person doesn't even need it. So I mention it in passing, but it can, at high doses, give you gastrointestinal upset, and people that have kidney and liver failure should be cautious with it. Lipoic acid is a helpful antioxidant. It can neutralize toxins, and it's needed to convert oxidized glutathione, or GSSG, back to its reduced form. And it can also help protect you against lipid peroxidation. So that's actually a good thing to add to your regimen of antioxidants. There is an herb called milk thistle, and it's been used for centuries. It's not regulated, so when you buy a bottle of Silymarin, I could not tell you how much Silymarin is actually in it. I know they did a study on one herbal extract recently, and they found up to 50% of the bottles on the shelves of health food stores didn't have any of it in it. So you take your chances. But it's been shown clinically to have some benefits. So this is a good option, and you can have side effects such as gastronomical distress. Now, whey proteins, you'll see this a lot. You'll see actually some people claim that they're having undenatured whey proteins and that they're bioactive, and most of them are not. In fact, it seems amazing to me that they let them put that on these jars. If you want to know if a whey protein is bioavailable or bioactive, you can buy one of these tubs. They generally come in strawberry, chocolate, or vanilla. You can bring it home and you can scoop it up and put it in a glass of water. If it stirs right in, I can guarantee you it's hydrolyzed. It has absolutely no ability to raise glutathione. So, in fact, that's if it doesn't float, it's not going to be able to have this rare amino acid cysteine, because once cysteine is heated, when they hydrolyze proteins, it's destroyed instantly. Which brings us to the bioactive whey proteins. Now, Immunical is the one that has the patents on it. It preserves the undenatured proteins. It has the highest level of glutathione promoting activity. It's prepared pharmaceutically, actually patented and clinically proven to optimize human immune function. Immunical is patented as a chemotherapeutic agent, has no side effects, no contraindications. I'd rate it as the safest, most effective way to raise and sustain glutathione, and I've seen them all. Now, the cofactors that would be recommended for glutathione production would be selenium, B1, B2, B6, B12, folic acid, C, but not more than 250 to 500 milligrams. You can't take a lot, because you see the glutathione recycles all of these. So you want to take these at conservative levels, and also magnesium, vanadium, and zinc. Now, there's some foods that can raise glutathione, but I got to be honest, very trace amounts of these amino acids are in these. Most North American foods do not have the precursors anymore. They're gone. you'd have to eat a truckload of raw broccoli. Has to be raw, because if you cook it, it instantly destroys the cystine. Cystine is a thermolabile protein. You could eat raw eggs. About a dozen raw eggs will give you your daily supply of glutathione precursors. But then you got to be careful for the salmonella. And in fact, a recent study showed that between 40 and 50% of all eggs found on a grocery store shelf had salmonella. So I would not recommend that. Now, if you have a personal relationship with the chicken, you know this chicken well, the chicken's in your backyard, you raise your own eggs, then I would say you could eat, raw eggs. Otherwise, be cautious. You could eat raw steak. About a pound of raw steak will give you what you need for the day. But red meats also have a complication of raising homocysteine. Red meats also have a lot of bacteria, fats. Now, one of the very good ways to do it is, or what has been very good for years, is raw fish or sushi. In fact, when we did a little research on the oldest old, we found that some of these very old centenarians accidentally have been keeping their glutathione high by eating these type of foods. For instance, the Okinawans, which live longer and older than anybody in the world, they regularly live into their hundreds. There was a gentleman last year, he died at the age of 115, and he was still working till just before he died. So he ate raw fish every day his whole life. They live on an island. They eat raw fish. So they have been keeping high levels of glutathione, and basically the other location of where you can get these is found in human breast milk, mother's milk. They have the highest precursors, and that's why when a baby nurses, the baby is flooded with these with this cystine, which is very high in mother's milk, and the baby has a very strong immune system. That's why when you sneeze on a baby, you don't kill off the baby. Now, the problem with mother's milk is it's hard to find, and likely quite expensive. I noticed one company in Colorado is selling mother's milk for $3.28 an ounce, and that's about $400 a gallon, and doctors can prescribe it. They use it for treating cancer. Did you know that mother's milk could be used to treat cancer? Well, it's, again, raising the cystine. Now, on another future webinar, we're going to talk about glutathione and cancer, but for tonight we're not going to get into that subject. But Dr. Bunos, when he was doing the research on proteins back in the late 70s, he found that out of proteins from around the world, the only one that had this very high level of cystine was raw bovine milk. And so over a period of years, he was able to extract through a cold process, which eventually also involved getting specialty patented equipment. And so it was that he was able to develop this product called Immunical by using this raw milk. Now, it takes a lot of milk to make Immunical. It takes about 125 liters of milk to make one box of Immunical, and there's 30 pouches in the box, and you would really use one pouch a day. You mix it in water or whatever your favorite beverage is, and you drink it, and that's all there is to it. This particular form of cystine is a bonded cystine, and it's impervious to the stomach. Not even pepsin or trypsin can break it down. And so it goes all the way into the colon, gets into the bloodstream through the walls of the colon, and the cystine circulates as a thiol all over the body, from your hair to your toenail. And if even one cell needs to make more glutathione, it pulls in the cystine thiol and upregulates the glutathione. It's tremendous. Now, some people have objections to cows, and so Immunotech went to great lengths to ensure the purest, highest level of milk. The cows graze range in free range. They eat mostly organic. No hormones have ever been given. It's a special herd. No antibiotics have ever been used. The proteins are extracted, leaving the milk behind. So there's no lactose, there's no fats, there's no casein. These are some of the things that people are allergic to. So even if you're allergic to, very allergic, you're not going to have any problems with Immunical. And again, it's done through a cold process that ensures bioavailability. So really would have to say, I would personally recommend this as the richest source of natural glutathione precursors. There's just nothing that compares to it worldwide. And it's been given some real recognition in the medical community. It's actually got 6 North American pharmaceutical patents because initially it was designed to be released as a drug. But when they saw the great benefits of it as a wellness product, the company opted to release it as a nutraceutical. And so while it can be prescribed, it doesn't have to be prescribed. And so it can be used on a daily basis, week after week, month after month, year after year, very, very safely. It's been awarded over 77 international patents in dozens of countries. It has 34 published medical studies, millions of dollars in research. It's listed in the physician's desk reference as a medicine, so your doctor can prescribe it. It's in the pharmacist's red book of prescription products. Pharmacists can look it up. It's in the Canadian Compendium of drugs. And interestingly, it's Medicare and Medicaid reimbursed in many areas. The book Oxidative Stress and Cancer, AIDS, and Neurodegenerative Diseases, published by Luc Montagnier. By the way, Luc Montagnier was the Nobel Prize winner of 2008. He's the one that discovered the HIV virus. He has an entire chapter in his book on its application in AIDS and cancer. As far as he's concerned, if you've got these kind of complications, Immunical is the preferred modality. He very, very strongly recommends it. Now, for that reason, it's gaining wide exposure now, but still it's a very closely kept secret. We're going to be talking a lot about it in the weeks ahead, and because it's really the best way to, on a daily basis, keep this very critical component in your body at strong levels. In fact, it's already been commented on by some doctors that if you can keep a high level of glutathione, you're going to have good health and a long lifespan. And the contrast is very true. If you have a low level of glutathione, you're going to have a short, miserable life. And diabetics are in special need of this. So those of you who are on the phone tonight that know people who are diabetics, you can share the message with them. And in fact, I can remember an idea, which is, of course, very simple. An idea, antioxidant, immune booster, detoxifier, energy, anti-aging. And so you can explain this to your friends and perhaps get them on some of the future webinars that we're going to be doing. Also, I'd recommend glutathione.org as a location where you can get some very, very good information about glutathione. And also, you can feel free to listen in on our programs. Now, at this point, Dr. David is going to open it for questions.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, James. This is fantastic information. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm getting some background noise there. All right. I was about to say what a fantastic way to begin our series on glutathione. And for those of you joining us a little later in the presentation, I mentioned that James will be partnering with us with BSW, Building Strength webinars, to educate our listeners. Okay, hang on just a minute. I think there's a problem. Let me mute. I'm going to mute you briefly. I'm getting
number 25 plus 1 equals 2x, right? Okay, so 3.
I'm wondering where that is coming from. Hang on a second.
Oh yeah, I see what you did. That's 1, yeah, except that you can, oh yeah, that's right, you're stuck this way. So that's 3x times x.
James, I'm trying to figure out where the sound is coming from, and I know I've muted you.
1, 1.
Are you there, James?
This one be 3.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear that extra sound from somewhere?
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, but maybe what we'll have to do is we'll have to unmute it and get questions, and then we can mute it, and I can give the answer. Okay?
Well, here's the thing. The questions will be typed in, so there's, I'll just read the questions out. All right.
Very good.
Let me see what we can do. But I seem to be hearing other sounds, almost like a recording is going on, and I'm wondering what in the world that is from. Hang on just a minute. Let me just figure out, see if I can.
So this has to be negative. That becomes 3 squared.
Folks, can you hear? Can any of you hear anything else? This is the weirdest thing. All right, we'll just try and work with this. All right, first question. Are you familiar with glutathione patches from Lightwave, and if so, what are your thoughts on them?
There's
Yes.
2. So then you set 3 plus 1.
Do you want to mute it?
So that becomes 3x.
Yes, I am muted.
Equals negative 1.
Yeah, we're definitely getting. It sounds like there's another seminar going on somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I find bewildering. Really, it's really bewildering. Let me just go through and see if there's someone else who isn't muted in our list.
So then I say, okay, I go plus x.
Yeah,
Do you want me to switch to microphone and speakers instead of the phone?
X for x equals.
You know, that's a good idea. Why don't you do that?
X equals.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, let me try.
Yeah, just click on use microphone and speakers. Sorry about that, folks. This has never happened before. Never.
Minus 2x plus 1.
I'm just glad it's not in my head.
Do it again. So I say if x equals negative 1/3.
Yeah, there's somebody doing a science seminar on mathematics.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah, and I'm looking through the list, and everyone else seems to be muted. Folks, if you are watching a presentation on mathematics, would you do us a favor and just mute yourself?
Third plus negative 1/3 becomes 2/3.
Okay.
Negative times 2 is 1/3 plus 2.
James, honestly, I'm a little confused here.
Well, David, I put up an 800 number here for if there's anybody that needs to get some additional information, they can call the 800 number, leave their name and telephone number, and I'll call them back, and I'll be able to give them some private information about it. Or if they want to learn how to get a Munich account, they can also do that as well.
Coefficients.
Absolutely, absolutely, folks. And again, we apologize. James will be back on for future webinars. But if you have questions, simply call. For those of you on the phone, call 800. If you cannot see this slide, call 800-779-2837. That's 800-779-2837. Be sure to mention that you heard about it from our webinar. And James will get back with you, okay? All right, well, listen, we're going to have to wrap it up here because we really can't continue under these circumstances. So send your questions, call in 800-779-2837, or send us an email.
Yeah, now we won't answer those calls tonight, but over the next day or two we'll answer the calls. And since the person asked one question about Lightwave, let me just mention that the patch is actually transdermal, and so the transdermal has the same complication. It has a short half-life, And the also complication is it's got the larger molecule, which can't make the intracellular glutathione. So anyway, we can go into more. We can go into more details when we talk personally with them. Okay.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. And James, when is the next webinar on glutathione? Do you know?
We're probably going to do it the week of May 9th.
May 9th.
So it'll be the week of May 9th. So it'll probably be the Thursday night, which will be, just looking at my schedule here.
That would be the 12th.
Probably going to be.
That would be the 12th.
Probably the 12th. 12th of May, yes.
We may have to make it on a Tuesday because the 12th is taken. So just
okay.
Yeah, would the 10th work?
The 2 minus, so that's
yeah, the 10th could work.
or it's.
And why don't we just pick?